Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-host, Shannon Lane Newmark, Andrew Hanlon, Pat Riley, USI, and Frank Hennessy, Premier Planning Group. We have a great lineup of guests for you on our show today. Shannon, will you please give us the rundown?
Sure, Herb. We will be starting off with Mark Edwards, President and CEO of the Food Trust, followed by Matt Holliday, Executive Director of Chester County Bar Association. Then we'll have Monte Wiltse, President and CEO of Fujirebio Diagnostics. And we'll be wrapping up today with Victor Tejada, founder of the Delivery Guys.
Let's get to know our first guest, Mark Edwards, President and CEO of the Food Trust. Mark, what is the Food Trust? What are you guys doing?
The Food Trust is an organization that makes sure that everyone has access to affordable, nutritious food and know how to make healthy decisions.
How many folks do you help each year?
In one of our programs, our farmers markets, we have 400,000 people who come through our farmers markets on an annual basis, generating $2.2 million in revenue.
Wow, that's just one of your programs. Where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters? Where are you in the pecking order?
I'm from West Philadelphia. I have two older sisters, and I'm the youngest.
Mm-hmm. And this was row houses. These are houses that were right next to each other. This was not the fancy section of Philadelphia.
That's correct.
And what were you doing 8 to 14? What kind of stuff were you up to?
8 to 14, I was delivering newspapers at a sizable newspaper route in West Philadelphia.
Did you start the newspaper route?
I started the area that I serve, yes.
Uh-huh. And what do you mean it was sizable? What are you talking about?
Well, it's a high turn. At that time, it was a high turnover operation. And as other people decided to leave the business and abandon their routes, I took responsibility for those routes. So as opposed to running away from responsibility, you kept on taking the other kids that deserted their routes. What's that have to do with your role with this organization known as the Food Trust? Well, the Food Trust is in the work that we do. We are committed to the communities that we serve. We're community driven in many ways. And so the tenacity with which I was committed to delivering papers in West Philadelphia is the same tenacity that I bring to the work that I do.
Drew?
Mark, tell us about your mom.
My mom was a cook. She enjoyed spending time in the kitchen, and it was important for her that I learned how to cook. So we spent a lot of time together doing that.
And did you love to cook as well? Like, did you have a passion for that?
Absolutely. I have many of her recipes today. And when we have family gatherings, my family often asks me to make my mom's this or my mom's that.
And what do you bring to work every day that mom taught you?
I bring a commitment to the people that we are there to serve. My mother was always interested in making sure that people loved the food that she produced. And so that was her work. And so she enjoyed watching people enjoy her food. And that's what I enjoy doing, making sure that the people that we are there to serve, their needs are being met.
Mm-hmm. It also seems to me there's a pretty clear connection between you feeling the love from your mom, cooking with her, and you're serving food to other people. Is there a connection there?
Yeah, well, the Food Trust, we don't serve people food per se, but through our farmers markets, of course, we provide food, right? And so the farmers themselves are producing the food and bringing it to market. And so there's a direct connection there.
Yeah. Pat, give me a hand with him.
Mark, you said in the green room that you used to build go-karts for fun growing up. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah,
so growing up in West Philadelphia, we spent a lot of time outside and making sure that we had positive things to do, to pass the time was important. And so we would go around and collect the items needed to construct and build go-karts, and we'd find the biggest hill in the neighborhood, and we would go up and down that hill until we got tired.
And who did you build these go-karts with?
Friends from the neighborhood, about 4 to 5 friends from the neighborhood.
And what was your role in that group of friends in building these go-karts?
Well, oftentimes when we used the go-karts, they would break down. And so we always had to make sure that we had supplies. And so on trash day, we would go around the neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods and scavenger for parts, for go-karts.
And what was your role in doing that?
Oh, my role was to make sure that we actually did it. I was the person who typically said, hey, in that neighborhood, the trash day is on this day. Hey, guys, let's go and see what we can find.
And how does that translate to what you're doing today?
Well, we don't collect trash at the food trust, but we do go out and we find partners who are producers and growers of food, and we make opportunities available to them. We're always looking for business partners through the community connections and the community work that we do to make sure that we can spread the word about how to make healthy decisions about food and get resources to them to do that.
Shannon?
Mark, in the green room, you mentioned you played basketball growing up. Tell us more about that. What was your role in the team?
So another pastime was to play basketball, and I'm tall, and I was among the tallest growing up, and so I played a forward, and so I was responsible for rebounds and protecting the basket when we had the ball, and that was my job.
And in the green room, you also mentioned something about being intense and tenacity. What was that all about?
Yeah, and so the tenacity with which I assumed my role as forward in basketball sort of carries throughout my career. And so I'm pretty tenacious when it comes to problem solving, understanding the issues before us so that we can develop a solution-based approach.
And why is that so important with what you're doing at the Food Trust?
Well, it's important now because communities vary in terms of their needs and their level of engagement. And the issue of food insecurity right now, particularly in relationship to the pandemic, is a pretty significant problem. And so I bring that tenacity to problem solving today.
Frank?
So Mark, I see what influence your mom had on you. Tell us about your father. What did he do for a living?
So my father was an auto mechanic, and he fixed cars. He was an entrepreneur, had his own shop, and I would work with him in the shop to make money.
So you worked with your dad. What did you learn? What kind of lessons did your dad teach you observing him?
Customer service was important. I was responsible for washing cars, and after they were repaired, those who wanted their cars washed, I would be responsible for washing cars. And I also had to sell it, so it was my responsibility to convince that person now that the car is fixed, how about a wash?
So you were pretty involved. What lessons do you bring with you in running the food trust today?
Ownership, accountability, responsibility for results.
So it sounds to me like the food trust is an extension of the paper route, but instead of delivering information, you're delivering nutrition, and you're doing it. Yeah, is that fair? That's
a very fair connection. I haven't thought about it that way, but it is.
And so you're doing it in the same community, and that word's come up a few times. Tell me, why is a sense of community important to you?
Sense of community is important to me because that's who I am. That's where I'm from. I'm a third generation Philadelphian. But I have to say, we don't just provide services in West Philadelphia. We provide services across the city. We provide services in New Jersey, in California, in Pennsylvania, in Kansas. And so we provide services more broadly speaking.
Drew?
Tell us more about that, Mark. What else is the Food Trust into?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So the Food Trust does a lot more. And so we have what we refer to as a corner store program. And this is a program where we provide support for grocers or people in communities so that we can help them provide the fresh fruits and vegetables to people who would otherwise be underserved, having access to that kind of food. And so we do that in a very broad-based manner, and we have a dedicated staff, very knowledgeable staff who've been doing this for a lot of years.
Mark, what's that mean to you to get those fresh foods and vegetables into those needed communities?
It means a lot because a lot of communities of color don't have big box supermarkets. The footprint just doesn't allow. So bodegas and corner stores are the kinds of things that exist in those neighborhoods and communities. And not all of those owners know exactly how to promote fresh fruits and vegetables. And so our ability to do that is very rewarding for me.
And do you see that as a growing segment of your business and expanding?
Absolutely. I see it as a growing segment of the business because, more and more people, especially during the pandemic, are not able to get access to food in some of the more traditional ways. And just by virtue of in some instances, the rural settings, urban settings, we find more and more the need to improve the knowledge and information of young people about making the right decisions. When they go into that corner store, do I select a piece of candy or do I select an apple or an orange?
Mark, what's the website address for this organization known as the Food Trust?
Thefoodtrust.org.
We've been speaking with Mark Edwards, President and CEO of the Food Trust here on Executive Leaders Radio. But let me have that website address one more time, please.
Thefoodtrust.org.
Thefoodtrust.org. And don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders, as well as thefoodtrust.org. Stick around. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. Don't go away.
You now can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Yes, you can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Simply visit executiveleadersradio.com, securely enter their info, and we'll reach out to spotlight your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Don't wait. This radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable to your advisors. Yes, this radio and online social media exposure is free and quite valuable to your business advisors who deserve to be recognized. Visit executiveleadersradio.com now to nominate your deserving business advisors.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Matt Holliday, who's the Executive Director of the Chester County Bar Association. Matt, what is the Chester County Bar Association? What do you guys do?
It's 1,100 attorneys who are attempting to improve their own practices as well as the community they work and live in.
Wow. And where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
I grew up moving a lot. We lived in 13 different places before I came to college here in Chester County. And I have one older brother and I'm the youngest.
Uh-huh. Well, why did you move? Why did you live in 13 different places?
Single mom trying to make rent. We often were just moving so that she got a new job that paid a little bit more. She needed to be closer to it, or, trying to stay one step ahead of creditors, that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. So you know what the street's all about. You know what growing up without a lot of financial resources is all about.
I do.
Mm-hmm. Drew?
Matt, what was the impact of seeing your mom kind of struggle and have to, move from spot to spot and fight for everything she got?
So obviously it's stressful, but also it can be a bit inspiring because it teaches you that no matter what life throws at you, you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and with some kindness from the people around you, get through it.
And what would you say the one key takeaway that you learned from your mom was?
I think hard work and determination, just the grit of not letting life knock you down and keep you down, was a big life lesson.
And how does that inspire you today?
Frankly, it makes me keep moving, and it makes me want to help other people who also came from difficult circumstances or didn't have quite as much as everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Frankie?
Matt, it sounds like you were expected to contribute at a young age. How young were you when you first started working?
So I think 7 or 8, I had a couple different jobs. I was delivering phone books. I was sealing the floors of airplane hangars at the Dover Military Air Force Base. A little later on, I was shift manager at Maggie Moo, an ice cream place. I worked as a bag boy and a cart boy at Acme. Anything I could do to help bring in some money to the family coffers.
So was that out of necessity, or did you want to be working?
I think it was both. I think, anything I could do to help alleviate some of the stress on my mom and help pay the bills, I was happy to do.
It sounds like you were able to do and willing to do just about anything. How does that impact you in officiating in a courtroom or bringing value to other attorneys and law firms?
So I think the ability to adapt and figure out new ways to conquer whatever challenges come along or assist people with the issues they're facing has been a key for me in my career.
Mm-hmm. Pat?
Matt, that must have been tough moving schools that often when you were growing up. How did you cope with that? Or is there anything that you approached the new school with that helped you?
Absolutely. I think being a good listener and giving people the opportunity to open up about themselves was key for me. And then also finding ways to connect folks to each other. I'm always looking for a commonality that, I might share with a new acquaintance to help us build a foundation and launch from there.
And how does that help you nowadays in your current role at the foundation and at the Bar Association?
So attorneys tend to be very engaged in their communities. And so finding ways to partner with local charities, other businesses, the law firms, the government, et cetera, putting together that synergistic connection point is one of the things that I try to do every day.
So when you moved those 13 times, as opposed to you trying to make yourself the focus of attention, it sounds to me like you got to know people and also help connect people to other people as a way to integrate yourself into the community. Am I reading that right?
Absolutely. I think a couple of times I've ended up as the focus of attention just through, being in charge of a project or elected as president of something. But more often than not, I just try to connect others and improve the situation.
As a kid, what did you get elected president of, or what were you organizing?
A couple different things. I would head up the canned food drive. I was the lead in a couple fall dramas. I was student government president. I did a Future Business Leaders of America. I was vice president of that.
Mm-hmm. So why did they ask you to be the head of student government?
I think just being able to cooperate with folks and meet people where they are, get them to understand that you can respect their point of view, even if you don't necessarily agree with it, and to smooth over friction helps with leadership positions.
Similarity between being the head of the student government and the head of the Chester County Bar Association?
Absolutely. Lawyers are very bright people and have a lot going on. And so there's a lot of personalities and opinions. So figuring out ways to help them cooperate is key.
Who's next?
Matt, with all the moving around that you were doing, and coming from a family with a single mom, was there anyone that took you under their wing and was kind of that father figure for you?
Sure. So because we didn't live anywhere for terribly long, nobody for a prolonged period of time did that. But honestly, I was blessed to have a lot of different people express interest and show kindness and take me under their wing over the years. So I learned from an early age that anyone can be a hero, and you don't need all the time and energy in the world to commit to it. You just need to be compassionate and help when you can.
And how does that relate to what you're doing over at the Chester County Bar Foundation, which you're also the executive director at?
Honestly, the biggest thing we can do is help raise money for some key homeless prevention programs, domestic violence shelters, crime victims centers, and the legal aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania, which provides a lot of pro bono work. And then, of course, we also encourage our own attorneys to do as much pro bono work as possible for those in need.
So you're the head of the Chester County Bar Association and the foundation. I guess the good thing is that, you can go in, you work 9 to 5 or 10 to 3 or whatever it is, right?
A lot more than that, unfortunately.
Do you get paid extra for going for working those extra hours?
I don't know. I'll have to ask my board, but I don't think so.
You don't think so? Why do you do it then?
Because it needs to be done. We have a lot of need in Chester County. It's the wealthiest county in Pennsylvania, but frankly, there's a lot of people who don't benefit from that, and we need to do what we can to make the community better.
Well, where's that coming from inside of you?
I think the fact that as a kid, I didn't have a lot motivates me to help other people who are in need.
Because you didn't have a lot of as a kid, as opposed to taking for yourself, as the head of the Chester County Bar Association, you're trying to give back to others?
Absolutely.
You find that healing and healthy and warm?
It works for me. It's my coping mechanism.
What works for you?
Putting others first.
Really? So how long have you been the head of the Chester County Bar Association?
I'm finishing my second year in this role.
You planning to do a third and a fourth year?
I certainly hope so.
Why? Why do you want to do that?
Because we have such an amazing group of people in our association. And if they could just be harnessed to do even more good than they already do, that's lives changed. And I'm happy to be part of that.
So you see a whole mess of ways. You see a lot of other progress. You've got this creative streak going on as well as these people organizing skills, don't you?
Yeah, we're always trying out new initiatives and new fundraising tactics, et cetera, to maximize our value to the community.
Frank, what else are you thinking?
Well, the two are interrelated. I mean, it sounds like you've got a propensity to want to give back and pay it forward, and you're bringing value to other law firms in the bar association, but you almost encourage them and set a create expectancy that they're going to do the same and give back. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think a rising tide lifts all boats, and if they do well, they can pass some of that on and help other folks.
So you're bringing value not only to other attorneys and law firms, but to the community at large.
That's the goal every day.
So it's a win-win-win. It sounds like you're helping the law firms. It sounds like you're helping the community through the law firms. And you find that fulfilling as the executive director of not only the Chester County Bar Association, but also the Chester County Bar Foundation. Am I reading that correctly?
You are. And I serve on 14 other nonprofit boards on the side in my spare time as well. So clearly I have an issue.
What would you say the biggest value
is?
We're
going to run out of time here for a second. What is the website address of the Chester County Bar Association?
chescobar.org.
chescobar.org. We've been speaking with Matt Holliday, Executive Director of Chester County Bar Association here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, we'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. Don't go away. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Monte Wiltse, President and CEO of Fujirebio Diagnostics. Monte, what is Fujirebio Diagnostics? What kind of stuff are you guys doing?
Fujirebio Diagnostics is a developer of laboratory tests, generally blood tests, for notably oncology as well as neurological disorders.
Where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
I'm originally from Kansas. I have two older brothers that are significantly older than I am, so I was a little bit like an only child.
Drew?
Monte, what was going on in Kansas?
So we played a lot of football and spent a lot of time outdoors, hunting, fishing.
And what was your role on the football team?
So I was an offensive lineman.
And what would your teammates tell us about you?
So I was a sizable kid, and, offensive linemen have a very specific mission of protecting the quarterback or protecting whoever's got the ball. And I was actually fairly good at that.
And what do you bring to work every day that you learned playing football?
The one mission of a lineman is to knock down barriers, right? And I see my role as a CEO is to knock down the barriers that my people have so that they can get things done. The people that are actually getting things done can get things done.
Frank?
So, Monte, clearly the offensive linemen are the more cerebral of the players in the football field. But I'm curious about hunting and fishing. Got to be a lot of time for reflection and thinking. Who are you hunting and fishing with?
So my father and I, we did a lot of bird hunting. So it's a lot about patience. It's a lot about finding where the game is. When you bird hunt, you walk.
So what are you talking about? I mean, you're not probably talking about being a global executive for a life sciences company. What lessons are you learning from Dad while you're hunting and fishing?
Well, it's really the patience to understand how to operate in a large organization. I'm part of a large Japanese global conglomerate. So as within that, you have to be patient. I don't control everything. And so, every culture operates at a different pace.
And so you're obviously involved in many different roles in the business. Why is it important to have patience and understanding in business today?
Yeah, it's just being able to understand how different people operate. And you have to be able to move the business forward, but have the patience to understand what it's going to take different people to get things done.
Shannon?
Monte, can you tell us about your mom and what she was like when you were growing up?
So my mother was a bookkeeper, and my parents both had their work, but then they were people that didn't really relax at home. They worked at home almost as much, if not more, than they did away from their regular jobs. So my parents both had interests or activities that they would do. My mother cooked a lot. She sewed. She did a lot of work around the house. And, I picked up from her just that whole work ethic. The job's not done until it's actually finished.
And coming from a family where both your mom and dad had that work ethic and, that mindset, how does that relate to what you're doing nowadays?
Well, it's the same. We have an objective to complete, whether it's the development of a new test or the manufacturing of product for one of our partners. The job's not complete until it's completely finished and it's done to their satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Monte, what was your first job growing up?
So my first job was putting up hay. So for those that may not be familiar with it, grass gets cut, wheat gets cut, the remnants of that get left in the field, get put into bales that are about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide and 2 feet deep, 1.5 feet deep. And that gets stacked in a barn and fed to livestock throughout the winter. So my job was to get that out of the field and stacked into a barn.
And what did it take to be successful at that job, or what was the most important thing?
It was all about efficiency. So we got paid 3 cents a bale. So, the slower you went, the less you got paid. But it was also getting it stacked appropriately so you could get as much as you possibly could into that barn.
So very incentive driven, but also efficiency matters and where it's going. How does that translate over to what you're doing today?
We are, for all intents and purposes, a manufacturing facility for biologicals. And so it's all about efficiency here as well. It's significantly different than putting up hay, but again, it's all about efficiency. It's trying to find the best way to get things done in the most efficient manner and with the highest quality.
True.
Monte, I was just curious, when you were playing football and, you had a big game, did your mom and dad show up at the games?
Yes. Yeah. Generally they were there.
And what was the impact of having them there supporting you?
Oh, it was very positive. You feel that reinforcement.
And what did that do to you today, like as a leader?
It's a matter of showing interest. And I try and do that with our employees as well. Understanding where your employees come from, what their interests are, what they have going on just outside of work, I think gives them a sense of comfort with the company that they work for.
Mm-hmm. Monte, when you talk about hay in the barn, you can clearly illustrate the process, the efficiency, and the results driven, the 3 cents a bale. I imagine you expect the same from your team. How do you encourage that same process and efficiency from your team?
So it's a matter of measuring the metrics that are relative. We don't pay people per test that get manufactured, but it's all about the efficiencies. So we look at things like how many tests are produced every month per employee. So we measure metrics like that. We look at lead time, how long it takes us from the start of the process until it's actually ready to ship.
Mm-hmm. Monte, I understand that, Dad, you mentioned in the green room that with Dad, you built barns and garages. You kept on doing all these projects. You kept on improving the property with your dad. It would sound like constant improvement, constant innovation, constant creativity. And I'm wondering, what's that have to do with science and your background in creativity?
I would say the one connection there is just the ability to challenge the team here to think differently about how we do things and to look for continuous improvements within our processes.
Mm-hmm. Shannon, what else you thinking?
Monte, you're all about efficiency and getting things done. I'm curious, what drives you to do what you do every day?
So the key for our business is that behind every test that we make is a patient. So our goal is to make the best quality tests we can in the most efficient way that we can get it out there in the market.
So you really care about the patients you're helping?
Oh, definitely. Everybody's got somebody that they know that was affected by cancer.
Mm-hmm. So that drives you, that's driving influence where you really are trying to do good through these tests?
Oh, it's an influence for all of our employees. It's one of the reasons a lot of our employees say they chose to come to work here.
Why?
Because they've got some association with cancer.
Mm-hmm. And how young were you when science got into your blood?
Oh, that was after I got out into the workforce.
Mm-hmm. So you're, and how did science get into you?
Well, I had been an officer in the Marine Corps, and when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to work for a laboratory diagnostics business, and I've been in the industry since then.
I see. And what do you find fascinating about science?
Just the incredible things that are constantly changing. It is a constantly changing space and constantly advancing, and the speed at which changes are occurring is even more drastic. If you just look
like the nature of your mother and father sort of laid the groundwork for things constantly evolving and constantly changing when you were a kid. Sounds like you're sort of used to it and sort of embracing it as the CEO of this organization. What is the website for Fujirebio Diagnostics?
Our website is fdi.com.
Let me have that one more time.
fdi.com.
We've been speaking with Monte Wiltse, President and CEO of Fujirebio Diagnostics, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Stick around. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. Don't go away.
Recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, Executive Leaders Radio. Yes, you can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, ExecutiveLeadersRadio.com. Simply visit ExecutiveLeadersRadio.com, securely enter their info, and we'll reach out to spotlight your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, ExecutiveLeadersRadio.com. Don't wait. This radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable. Yes, this radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable to your business advisors who deserve to be recognized. Visit ExecutiveLeadersRadio.com now to nominate your deserving business advisors for free exposure.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Victor Tejada, founder of the Delivery Guys. What is the Delivery Guys? What are you doing?
Delivery Guys is a complete platform for delivery. We serve restaurants and convenience stores.
Uh-huh. And what kind of restaurants are you delivering for?
We start serving Spanish restaurant, but Black community restaurant. But right now we serve almost all the communities so far.
All the communities, okay. And where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters? And where are you in the pecking order?
I'm from Dominican Republic. I have two sisters. I'm in the middle of one of three.
You're the middle of three, and you're from the Dominican Republic. How recently have you come to the United States?
I have 2 years in the United States, in the city of Philadelphia specific. 2 years.
So you've been in the United States for 2 years. And
3
years. And how old is this business?
I have 6 months and a few days so far.
6 months. So you came to the United States from the Dominican Republic 3 years ago, and you were here for 2 years or so, and you started your own business. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
Say
that.
Okay. Drew, give me a hand, please.
Yeah, Victor, what was going on for fun in the Dominican Republic?
Dominican Republic is a baseball land. So everybody plays baseball, and we love baseball that I used to do all the time over there.
And what was your role on the team?
I was pitcher, AKA assistant of the manager.
And what you told us that you weren't really the best player on the team, but you still had an important role. Is that correct?
Yes, I was the worst player in the team, but I used to work with the manager and try to put the team together all the time.
And what did that experience teach you about running this business?
They teach me everything. I feel like right now we try to use the same we use in the baseball game in the company. We try to play like a team. We try to let everybody can move forward, take a different position in the company, because the more important is play like a team.
Frankie?
Victor, you exude positivity and confidence, and I'm wondering where that comes from in the Dominican Republic. What was your dad doing? Tell us about your dad. What did he do for a living?
My father, he used to have like a small land, a small farm. We used to work with him in the farm. That we used to do. My sister, me, family together.
So everybody worked on the farm. And what role did each of you play, or did you have to do a little bit of everything?
Actually, we do everything. We do everything over there, like from everything you can do in the farm.
So you're working in a community, in a sense, in a farm. How has that contributed to your confidence to go to a new country, start a new business, and compete with people like Grubhub and Uber Eats?
Let me tell you something. Actually, I feel we don't compete directly. We complement the system. And it's the same what we do in the farm. We don't do everything, but we complement the system. It's something like I learned really hard. Like maybe you can do everything by yourself. You have to do together with another one. Maybe I don't have all the products that people need, but I can complement there with another farms and do it together.
So you're building your own community farm in the United States now.
Almost.
Cut.
So Victor, can you tell us a little bit about your sisters growing up?
Yeah, I have two sisters. Like say, one is older. The one is older is like the most significant to me because the small one I have like a 10 more years like her. But the older one, she was like my mom. I be with her to the school. She prepared everything for me, and we be with her all my life.
And so, what was that like growing up with her?
It was really, really, really amazing. We used to do swimming together and go to the park together, everything together. I feel like this was so important to me in my life.
So it seems like you have a lot of compassion for your family, your business, the people here, the community. Is it safe to say that comes from your family, and how does that translate over into what you're doing today in the business?
It's a expression say for grow up a kid, you need a neighborhood. It's not only the family. And that's what we tend to do. We tend to bring everything I learned from my family to the neighborhood, tend to grow together, because this is the best way. Actually, my kids are going to live in the same neighborhood anyway. So I want to make sure my neighborhood is great.
Mm-hmm. Shannon?
Victor, it stood out to me when I was looking at your bio that you put in there that more than 50% of your drivers are women. Why is that something you're proud of?
I'm so proud with that because we need to give a space, a really good space, but a space like they can take the advantage to take care of the home like they doing because they the best in doing that kind of stuff. We have to give the time. So, and actually, if they are the most efficiency in the company right now, they take care of everything. They take care how the food is going. They take care of the service. They clean everything like a super, super nice. The experience with working with women is the best we can have.
In the green room, you mentioned that it's important to you to also allow them to have hours where they're able to be with their families. Tell us more about that and why is that important?
It's important for me. It's important for me. It's important for the kids. Like if we need the support in the house. We need the support to do the homework. We need the support to cook right. We need the support for everything. And we tend to find the best hour for the woman all the time. So what the who we have is the chief. The woman have to choose first. And after that, we do the rest.
Mr. Mark Edwards, who's president and CEO of the Food Trust, what question do you have for Victor?
Victor, much of what you've talked about starting your business, where you come from, and your value system is all rooted and centered in family. How are you passing that on to the next generation?
It's a very good question. Actually, in the team, we tend to promote that like the first thing in the company. You can see how my drivers go with the family sometimes. Like we work together in the restaurants, in the kitchens. And is the more value, like just try to do the stuff. And we tend to promote that, to try to do everything together.
Thank you.
Mr. Riley?
And Victor, what kind of innovations are you implementing in the kitchen?
We have something we call Digi Kitchen. Digi Kitchen is a dark kitchen. We share this kitchen with the people who used to work in restaurants. Like we think many people in the restaurant business, they tend to do their own menu, their own restaurant, and they don't have the possibility to do that. We find this way. We bring the people to our kitchen. They take the hours they want to work. We prepare the menu. We selling. We do the marketing. We're selling, and it's really, really good. Actually, we can see the difference how we change the life of the people where we are in the Digi Kitchen.
So you're helping people actually start their own small businesses, where you're going to do the marketing and the delivery, where they're going to enjoy the cooking special in the kitchen. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, it's correct.
So you're helping people that have special recipes that really enjoy cooking start their own businesses where they don't have the overhead, and you're handling the marketing and the delivery. That's a great idea. Whose idea was that?
We start looking how help more people. We have the question every time. The people ask how the people used to work in the kitchen. They say, hey, I want to be a driver. I want to be a delivery because I want to make more money. And we tend to find a way how these people can get more money and stay in what they love. We start with the mother, Digi Kitchen. It's amazing. It's amazing what we're doing over there. We tend to keep the kitchen 24 hours open, almost. Everybody take a chip. If you're good in breakfast, we give you 6 to 11. If you're good in dinners and lunch, 11 to 4 to 5. And if the best you can do is the dinner, we do it too.
So it's really, my impression is that you don't think you're the best at doing everything. In fact, if anything, you're like the orchestra leader trying to find people that have all these special skills, and you're just stirring the pot, trying to get the best out of everybody?
It's something like that. Yeah, we're trying to do the best. We're trying to keep the board running. This is the way we find it so far.
That's very, so these innovative ideas are coming from your team. You're not necessarily inventing all the ideas. What's the website address of this organization known as the Delivery Guys? DeliveryGuys.app. Let me have that one more time. DeliveryGuys.app. DeliveryGuys.app. Right.
Yes.
Gotcha. We've been speaking with Victor Tejada, founder of the Delivery Guys. Shannon, can you give us a rundown on who else we've had the opportunity of speaking with today?
Sure, Herb. We had a great show today. We started off with Mark Edwards, President and CEO of the Food Trust, followed by Matt Holliday, Executive Director of Chester County Bar Association. Then we had Monte Wiltse, President and CEO of Fujirebio, Diagnostics. And then we just wrapped up with Victor Tejada, founder of the Delivery Guys.
I would like to thank my co-hosts, including Shannon Lane Newmark, Andrew Hanlon, Pat Riley, USI, and Frank Hennessy, Premier Planning Group, for giving me a hand structuring the questions, hopefully providing our listening audience an educational and entertaining show. I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. Thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.